Good afternoon, my name is Stephen Capaldo and it is Thursday, February 3rd, 2022. Thank you for listening. Today I was going to talk mostly about law and grace, that type of thing, and I am going to bring it up a little bit, but I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about what's going on with the truckers and different things that are going on. In the context of God's covenant with humans, He gave us covenant free will and freedoms, and this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a manifestation of this in current events. So basically, I will say a little bit about the Mosaic covenant, and then how it bring it into the general discussion of really God has made a covenant with us to give us free will and freedoms and to use those for His glory. Jesus observed and fulfilled the Mosaic covenant, being a covenant of 613 points, and then He gave us His sacrificial love gift, His life, His death, His burial, His resurrection, His ascension, and in this way He removed the obligations of the Mosaic covenant. So, if you want to get credit for keeping the covenant, you have to keep all the points of the covenant. But really, the covenant itself is no longer an obligation, and it's not in force. It's been removed by everything that Jesus did. However, the point, and this will bring me into the main point, we still have free will and we still have freedom, and so it is possible then to observe some points of the covenant, but you're not given credit for fulfilling the Mosaic covenants, because you would have to keep all of them to get credit for that. But you can still use free will and the freedom that you have as a human to observe in some way whatever points, Sabbath, feast, whatever. But that's up to you. You may have, for example, you may want to keep some of those points because you are married to a Jewish person, or you witness to Jewish unbelievers, this type of thing. So the only point I'm going to make there is that there still is the possibility of using your God-given free will and freedoms to observe certain things that you want to observe, that are important to you, that you feel are part of your calling. So what's going on now with the truckers? This I believe is a manifestation or an illustration of this of the greater covenant between God and humans of free will and freedom. And the issue within the truckers convoy, it's not a matter of being anti-vaccination. That's really false, because most of the truckers are vaccinated. And why are they vaccinated? Well, maybe they didn't want to lose their jobs, type of thing, so they got vaccinated. So most of them are vaccinated, and the issue is not whether or not one should be vaccinated. You have to make that decision for yourself. The issue is, do you have the right to choose how you take care of your body? That's really the big issue, the freedom to choose how you take care of your body. And it doesn't matter what type of health delivery system you have. You might have a public health or universal health care, you might have a private care, you might have a combination of both. But this is really the issue. And it seems to me fairly common sense, because nowadays most people would not say to someone, to a woman, well, you can't have an abortion. Most people would not say that. I don't favor abortion. I favor adoption. That's what I favor, if you think that you can't take care of the baby. But nowadays you wouldn't say to someone, oh, you can't do that. You wouldn't say that. I mean, you'd be derided as some type of horrible person. Well, it's really the same principle here. Why is it now that there has to be this one way of taking care of the health of your body? That you have to get a vaccination, and we won't discuss anything else. We won't discuss therapeutics or immunity supplements, antioxidants, this type of thing. We won't discuss any of that, or natural immunities if you've had it. We're only going to discuss vaccination, and you have to agree with that, or you're some type of horrible person. It's the same principle of the right to take care of your health in the way that you wish, and it doesn't matter what type of delivery system you have in your country, where you are. Another thing that often comes up is there are people who say that within Canada the convoy does not have a great deal of support among, I'll call them everyday Canadians. I won't call them mainstream or ordinary or anything like that. I'll call them everyday Canadians, working Canadian, or whatever. Everyday Canadians, I think, is the best way to put it. Well, I would agree that they don't have a lot of support among the elite establishment. They don't have a lot of support from this union that they have, the Canadian Trucking Association, which is an establishment organization. They don't have a lot of support among mainstream politicians. They don't have a lot of support from mainstream media. And I listen to everything I can listen to, you know, Canadian mainstream, US mainstream, other mainstream, Canadian alternative, which there isn't much, US alternative, other alternative. I listen to everything I can, and I try to use my discernment to come up with logical conclusions based on common sense, reasonable logical conclusions. And now it may be, so certainly the truckers don't have a lot of support among the elite establishment, Canadian establishment. To say that they are not supported by everyday Canadians, well, you might draw that conclusion. I mean, you're free to draw that conclusion, and you won't get the, I'm not going to diss anybody for drawing a different conclusion from me. And it is possible even that God is using a small remnant in one country to reach out to people in other countries. But there are, as a matter of common sense, I think there are some questions that come up that if these truckers do not have much support among everyday Canadians, then why is it that the Prime Minister is unavailable? Why is it that he wouldn't want to talk to people? I mean, a true leader talks to people they don't agree with. You don't just talk to the people you agree with. I mean, that's easy to do because they agree with you. But why would you not talk to the people that you don't agree with? That's what a true leader would do. So why is he hiding somewhere, and who knows where? He might be in Tofino on Vancouver Island. He might be in a place like that. He might be somewhere else. But wherever he is, why is he not available? Well, he says that the truckers are violent and racist and hateful, and they do things to statues, and okay, maybe there are some bad apples. But how do we know that the group supports these people? We have no evidence to say that the group as a whole supports these bad apples, if there are some bad apples. And how do we even know that those bad apples are really part of the group? I mean, certainly we know that in the political game, there is deceit often used. We know that. So how do we know? How can you say that the group of truckers support these alleged bad apples? And nobody agrees with that you should desecrate statues or pee on statues or anything like that. No, I mean, I think ordinary people think that shouldn't be the case. But how can people be so sure that the group as a whole would support these bad apples, or that these bad apples would even be part of the group, truly, really part of the group in the political wars game? We know that deceit is used. We know that there are certain operations like that. We shouldn't be naive about those things. So that's one thing. Another thing, that if there really is no general support for the truckers inside of Canada, why on Canadian mainstream media and US mainstream media, why is there consistently this drumbeat about Russia instigated it? Well, why? What is the point of this? I mean, I'm not taking Russia for granted. A nuclear state, by definition, is a dangerous state because they have access to a technology that could kill people, that could cause a lot of deaths and casualties. So I don't take them, it's not that I don't take it seriously. All of these nuclear states, Russia, US, China, and a few others, they're all dangerous. They have to watch each other, and people have to watch them. I mean, there's no, I'm not being naive about that, but people are going off, including Canadian mainstream media, they're going off the deep end the other way to say that Russia instigated it, and it's like Russia, this one country, is responsible for everything that goes wrong in the world. I mean, does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense. And to tell you the truth, if you want to talk about spirituality, if you want to put this on a spiritual level, you compare the spirituality currently in Russia with the spirituality currently in Canada or the US or other countries, Western countries. Russia right now is in a period where the people, I'm not talking necessarily about government or leadership or anything like that, the people are much more spiritual. I mean, there's a mainstream or a base that is very spiritual. Now, I don't agree with everything that the Orthodox Church teaches. I was raised in another part of that Orthodox Church. I don't agree with some of the things they teach, but I think as far as seeking to draw closer to God in Christ, I think that right now I have noticed a lot more spirituality in a country like Russia than in the U.S., in Canada, and in other countries. And people don't have to like that. People don't have to agree with that. But if there were no support inside of Canada, then why is there this constant drumbeat about everything that goes wrong is Russia? Russia is somehow involved in that. I mean, and the other thing too that surprises me is that the radical left, they love this ideology of workers' revolution, this kind of socialist or communist ideology. They're in love with that, but then when they're facing a true workers' revolution, their heads explode. Then they lose their minds. Because now what is happening now, and it's really worldwide. If you really are willing to study, if you're willing to study not only mainstream media in Canada and US and other countries, but if you're willing to go to an app like a Telegram and look at things like RT and Digger News and Santa Surfing, I mean, you can find out a lot of things. And you have to weigh it yourself. You have to have an open mind and an open heart to say that something's going on here, and I admit I don't understand all of it, and I think other people are free to admit they don't understand all of it. We want more information and less fighting, right? That's what we want. We want more information. We want to seek truth. If you believe that mainstream media is sufficient, to get truth, well, okay, that's not. I'm not going to treat you with, hatred or disrespect, not at all. But I just have to disagree. I mean, if you're limiting yourself mainly to mainstream media, I think that there's more there and worthy to be explored. And people have said, well. I've seen certain references and spoke about this myself. Is it important that who Justin Trudeau's real biological father is? Is that important? No, it's not important. If it's true, it could be ironic, in the sense that Pierre Trudeau was the one who repatriated the Canadian Constitution, gave the Canadian Constitution back to Canadians, and he was a controversial figure himself, but he did this for Canadians. Now his son apparently doesn't have much use for the Constitution, and then there may be this other link, this other family link. And by the way, it's not a conspiracy theory. There have been strong rumors of it for a long time. It's a theory. It's a working hypothesis. Test it, and see what you find. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You can't say that it's legally scientifically proven that there is this family connection, but it could be. It could be, and wouldn't it be ironic? It's not that important. The issue is free will and freedoms. That's the real issue. It doesn't matter who his father is. He couldn't control it anyway. And well, I already touched on the Convoy. Is the Convoy violent, racist, and hateful? I think that there's no evidence that they're supported by the group, these bad apples, or that they're even part of the group. And the thing is, there's also kind of an interesting turn taking place now. The media, certainly the mainstream media, are not supportive of what's going on. But even in Canada now, there are a couple of things that have been reported that are interesting. But reported by the government media, CBC, I believe it was, but by mainstream media. The fact that the government of Quebec, at one point, they were saying, we're going to put a tax on unvaccinated people. Now, apparently, they're not going to do that anymore, and the CBC reported that. And then the CBC, I believe it was, reported on what the Premier of Saskatchewan said. Premier Moe, by the way, M-O-E. Premier Moe has said that there should be an honest conversation about ending the restrictions, ending the COVID restrictions. And why would he say that? Well, he's a politician. He's got his ear to the ground. He's listening to what his people are saying to him in his province. And we can find it back here, right? Saskatchewan. So you got Montana, North Dakota, and there's Saskatchewan. So Premier Mo was saying, well, it was going to be like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, famous last words, and now it's been 2 years. And what he was saying, if I understood him, and I'm going to try to, relate that as accurately as I can, is that he was saying that now after 2 years, people know much more about this virus. They know much more what the options are, what they could do or might not do, and what might be the possible consequences of doing or not doing a certain thing. And so it's time to have what he said was an honest conversation about lifting the mandates. Well, there you go. And these two events in Quebec and Saskatchewan, they were covered by Canadian mainstream media. So I think that's good. If Mo can come up with this, then maybe we should go find Larry and Curly and see if we can bring them in and finish the job, right? So that's good. I give Mo credit for that, and I give mainstream media credit. Maybe they felt like they had no choice. That how long can you continue to deny something? They felt they had no choice to report these things, right? So with that, I'll go into the closing. People have a choice, and I'm going to read one verse and then a little bit of a commentary on it, and then really, as I see it, ask people, what do you choose? So the verse is at Psalm 82, verse 8. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. And there's a commentary on 82:8. Judge the earth. The psalmist finds it to little purpose to reason with these proud oppressors. Does that sound familiar? I mean, the people in charge, the elites in charge, can you really reason with them anymore? I mean, is there a possibility? And therefore he looks up to God and begs of him to take unto himself his great power. Arise, O God, judge the earth, thou shalt inherit all nations. And each nation might, use its free will and freedom a little bit differently, but it will still be free will and freedom, right? In this faith we must pray, arise, O God, judge the earth, appear against those that judge unjustly, that attribute everything to everyone who goes against a certain narrative is hateful and violent and racist, and yet, we have leaders, going into hiding and this type of thing. And set shepherds over thy people after thy own heart. People who will try to seek truth and try to help people. Try to help people with that. That's all. Shepherd. And shepherd really, that's the real meaning of a pastor or a pastor teacher, someone who shepherds, someone who just tries to help, tries to find truth and share it with people. Tell them about God, tell them about Christ, tell them about the Spirit, Holy Spirit. And really that's what the request is here. It is a prayer that Christ would come, who is to judge the earth, and that God shall give him the heathen for his inheritance. In other words, the people who don't want to know truth, they get stuck in the lower spiritual realm, right? That outer circle, right? So basically, we have a choice how we use our free will and God-given freedoms, and the choice is to use that free will and God-given freedoms to choose. We can choose to awaken under God and Christ, or we can accept the loss of freedom under the human and anti-God so-called Great Reset, because this is what's going on, this Great Reset or Matrix, or what's going on, the elites, the establishment, there are all kinds of names for them. This is human power, human will, against God, against Christ. So you can accept the loss of freedom that will accompany that, or you can wake up, be regenerated and restored in the mind of Christ, awaken under God and Christ. You can that's the choice. Those two things, and you only have a certain amount of time to choose one or the other. So really, all I can say in closing is, what will you choose? I mean, that's really you wake up or you don't wake up, and I think the choice is pretty clear, and we're seeing a manifestation of it in what's going on now in current events. The truckers in one country and in other countries. So what's it going to be? Draw closer to the Most High in Christ, be restored in the mind of Christ, or accept that you lose your freedom under this very anti-human, anti-God, anti-Christ, against Christ Great Reset plan that the worldwide elites have. And okay, so you can make fun of what I say. Some people will make fun of what I say, but don't make fun of me without doing the homework, searching it. Just check it out. Be like the Bereans, right? I think it's Acts 5:17. So on that note, I think I'll end it there. I'll wish you a good day in truth and in freedom, and please, by all means, don't just believe what I'm saying. Check it out. Check it out. You know, what's really going on. You know, is there really limited or no support for the everyday Canadians within Canada? Well, check it out and see what you find. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.